What is up, party people? Good morning and welcome to the Fantasy Football Morning Show. I'm your host, Austin Thompson. This is going to be the Tuesday episode, so we will be going over player highlights, waiver wire ads, and the Monday Night Football recap. That was originally the order in which I was going to do those things, and then I realized, man, that game sucked last night. So let's do the Monday night recap first and go ahead and get that out of the way. There couldn't have been. That was a game. I can't even talk about this. So the 49ers versus the Rams. It was Odell Beckham Jr.'s debut, which was just him putting on the uniform and excuse me, running around as a decoy, which is cool. I mean, you have to start somehow. They needed an extra man out there, so that works. But he had no fantasy football relevance, so there is that. This is a case of fade the public should have been the idea that you had going into that game because of the fact that the entire planet was on the Rams. So everybody was expecting, a lot of high volume offense from the Rams and the defense to do phenomenal. And that wasn't quite the fact. It was an incident where I was kind of upset about the fact that I didn't do enough research on the game because apparently the Rams have not been able to beat the Niners in quite some time. I did not realize that. So it was bad. It was very much fade the narrative, fade the public narrative, and I kind of didn't see that coming. So I kind of feel upset about that. It just wasn't a good game. It wasn't even enjoyable to watch. Yeah, it proved that Shanahan does know what he's doing and proved that McVay is beatable. And, that's kind of all I took from that game. I do think Jimmy Garoppolo is managing to hold off the Trey Lance thing, which I don't know if that benefits either of them. I guess if they make it to the playoffs, then it's beneficial for Garoppolo. And it'll give Trey Lance more time to learn the offense, become accustomed to being a starter and, all that jazz. But, they've kind of got to pick a way. They have to pick a path. And it's like we're always just kind of waiting in the wings for Garoppolo to go away and Trey Lance to show up. And I feel like that has to be really annoying for both of them. I wouldn't want to. It's a lot like the Andy Dalton, Justin Fields thing. Only we all knew that Justin Fields would eventually get to start. Like it wasn't maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I think from the beginning of the season, we all knew at some point in time Justin Fields was going to get the starter. Just how long were they going to trot Andy Dalton out there? So, yeah, let's go over player highlights. So, I'd like to point out that we did post on Eat Sleep Fantasy this morning. We posted the waiver wire article written by Heather Murray. Go check it out. It's always got some good stuff. I want to go over some players that we probably didn't expect to be as good as they were last week. Maybe some players that kind of let you down, like old Pat Fryermuth. I have no idea if I'm saying that guy's name wrong. I just enjoy saying it because it's such an odd name. Yahoo. Side note before I forget, at the end of this month, actually, I think on Thanksgiving, I'm going to announce a contest I'll be having through the remainder of the season. Spoiler alert, we're going to be giving away a jersey. I'm just not going to announce. It's going to be a signed jersey, by the way, not just a jersey. Anybody can go buy a jersey. I guess anybody can go buy a signed jersey, but, they're more expensive. So anyway, I'm going to be giving away a signed jersey once I hit some milestones on the socials, YouTube and stuff like that. Still working on getting the format of the podcast the way I like it. I'll record this thing and then I go home and I watch it every night. And I'm like, I need to fix this. I need to fix that. Still evaluating this platform that I do not know that I love, but hey, it is what it is. Let's start off with I'm tired. I'm not doing quarterbacks. It sounded super judgy. I do not want the week recap. Let's go with running backs. Running backs in week 10. The number one running back of week 10 was A.J. Dillon, using Yahoo scoring 24.8 points. Ramondre Stevenson reminds me of why it is that I have and I will always hate New England running backs. The fact that one of them is going to inevitably do really good, especially the colder it gets. The New England Patriots are a very cold weather team, and they become more run dependent as it gets colder. I'm assuming it's because there's less opportunity to fumble the ball. I mean, if you drop it, but I mean, there's less potential for things to go wrong when you're running it more as opposed to passing it. It's hard to get intercepted. You have to fight the fumble monster essentially. And the thing about the Patriots is it's always driven me nuts is that there's always going to be a running back on a team that's good, but you never have any idea who it is because there's usually like 6 of them. There's 4, 5, 6 multiple running backs on a team, and you'll have one will be, and of course this week the factored in was I think it was a concussion with the other running back, but you're going to have instances where like next week I can tell you with a relative amount of certainty that the running back I would not play next week is Ramondre Stevenson. And I kind of wonder if it's because Belichick wants to give them a rest because he knows he's going to rely on them so much. So I'm kind of wondering if it's, hey, I make you highlight you one week, I basically give you the next week off, and then, you rotate through. I don't know. It's trying to figure out the mind of Bill Belichick is a terrible idea. Relying on so much. Kind of wondering if it's, hey, sweet. I had to make sure that my live stream actually had sound because that was an issue last week. Fun times, get on here, and guy who follows me every now and then comes in and he chimes in the chat and he goes, "Hey man, you're muted." And I was like, "Oh, that is not great for a podcast." So good to know that I have sound, even if there is currently nobody watching this. Let's see. Daryl Williams was the number 3. Antonio Gibson was number 4. Jonathan Taylor was number 5. I don't understand why it is that the Colts refuse, or I won't say refuse. They obviously used Taylor. He scored twice, I think. I think it was twice. For sure once. I think he might have had one callback. But Jonathan Taylor scored. But I feel like we all want them to lean more heavily on the running backs, and they don't, which drives you nuts, especially because Carson Wentz is the most reckless quarterback since Jim McMahon, in my opinion. Marvin Ingram stepped up and showed out against the Tennessee Titans, which was good if you had him on your roster, and bad if you played against him. McCaffrey is getting back up there. He got you 16 points. Dearness Johnson's still a dude. Matt freaking Breida. No one saw that coming. And I will say this: if you have a running back that got vultured by Matt Breida, do not assume that Breida is going to be the guy again next week. I think he only had 8 targets. Is that correct? Rushing targets. "28 yards, 3 rushing attempts." It might have been that he was only in on 8 plays. So, yeah. Also, I would not. I mean, if you're super desperate, go out and pick up Breida because there is a potential. But do not rely on Matt Breida to get you 15 points again next week. Unless he does. If he does it again next week, then it's a good idea to pick him up. But as of right now, just let it ride with who you got. The old saying, you got to dance with the girl you brought, or whatever it was. I don't remember. I'm bad at those. James Robinson got you 14 points. Is Cordero Patterson on a bye? Patterson. I'm trying to remember. Or is he questionable? Cordero Patterson sprained ankle. So if you are a Mike Davis truther who has just been holding on to him, next week might be a week to get a little bit more use. But don't forget that the Falcons still suck. So there is that. Najee Harris, still a beast. I will tell you, I do think that I haven't looked into all the upcoming matchups. I will do that tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. But I will tell you right now that the matchup I am most intrigued by is Panthers are playing the Washington football team, which means it's Cam Newton versus Riverboat Ron Rivera. And that's going to be pretty interesting. What is this? 1048. Connor, AJ, and Carter for Diggs and Gaskin. Wow. Whoa. Connor, AJ, and Carter for Diggs and Gaskin. Yeah. I'm assuming what you're asking is, would I trade Connor, AJ, and Carter for Diggs and Gaskin? If you are the person getting Diggs and Gaskin, yes. I never thought I'd say anything positive about Gaskin, especially the way this season's been going. But the Dolphins are maybe heating up, which hurts to say. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of saying anything positive about the Miami Dolphins. But for the purposes of fantasy football, yeah, I like that, and I'm hoping that you're on the side of Diggs and Gaskin. I would definitely do that. Let's see where we're going. Let's go to. Nobody else stood out. Let's see. Ramondre Stevenson. If Ramondre Stevenson is out there in your league, pick him up. He probably isn't. Let's see. In a league I'm in, he's out there. He is only rostered in 32% of leagues. So if Stevenson's out there, pick him up. If Breida's out there, leave him out there. You might even want to try and hype him up a little bit in your chats and try and convince somebody else to get him and maybe see who they have to drop to get him. Who knows? Interesting thing to watch is Jamar Jefferson for the Detroit Lions. I mean, he got you 10 points, and he is only rostered in 0% of leagues. So that's something to keep an eye on. And in case you're wondering why I'm bringing him up, fantasy points wise, he scored more than Pollard, Fournette, Eli Mitchell, and Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard, by the way, in my opinion, is 100% droppable. Especially now that Cam is back. There's a chance that Christian McCaffrey takes a hit in his running back production because of the fact that Cam's going to run, but it's going to be the Cam and CMC show unless CMC gets hurt, which I don't see. I don't ever like to predict injuries or anything like that. So for the foreseeable future, if you have Chuba Hubbard, I would try and find. It's probably worth picking up a Jamar Jefferson right now if you are needing a running back. So keep that in mind. Let's go to the wide receivers. Boy, Deebo Samuel is a dude, and I don't that he was a seemingly exciting part of the game last night because I think before last night everybody was just hyping up Brandon Ayuk, who is still a good player, but I think they did a very good job of highlighting the versatility of Deebo Samuel because he came out of the backfield a couple times. He is, rostered in 98% of leagues, so there's probably a slim chance you can pick him up off waiver wire, but you may be able to trade for him. CeeDee Lamb was the number 2 receiver for the week, and it appears that the arm injury he obtained in the last game looks to be minor and should not impact his play this week. Stephon Diggs, man, everybody, if you've just been waiting around and sitting on Stephon Diggs all year, congratulations. You should give yourself a round of applause because there's a good chance that after weeks of Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley that I would have tried to drop him or trade him. And Stephon Diggs, to quote my buddy Jameson, he played like the Stephon Diggs we all expected when we drafted him. And that was a hell of a reminder that he's still that guy for the Buffalo Bills. Let's see. Should I trade Dalvin Cook for Zeke and T. Higgins? I have Pollard and Madison on my bench. Should I trade Dalvin for Zeke and T. Higgins? I don't feel great about it, but yes. I am not a fan of trading big players, but if you're going to get a 2-for-1 out of this, if you need the depth, I don't hate it. I really like T. Higgins. I like that entire offense. Ja'Marr Chase is the guy in that scenario, but they're spreading the ball around, and I do not see it slowing down at all. I don't see Joe Burrow going, let me throw the ball less at any point in time. I don't think they're going to go any more run heavy than they already are. So getting a 2-for-1, and Zeke is Zeke is another guy. He is a late season back, and he's just going to do more and eat more. And yeah, if you can pull off that deal, do it. Do it in a heartbeat. What's going on, man? Been good. I cannot complain. Hey, I'm not muted today, so that's a huge plus. Shout out for letting me know that I was muted that last time. Let's see. Waddle or I had AJ Dillon on my team. Ouch. Okay. Devontae Smith. I'm assuming D. Smith. Yeah, Devontae Smith. Let's see. Who are they playing next week? In rest of the season, I still say Devontae Smith is, yeah. Waddle. Man. Yeah, I like Waddle, but I think there's definitely more upside with Devonta Smith. And also, it feels weird and dirty to say, but are the Eagles good? Because I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think they were at all. Oh God, no, I did not think they were good at all. And they're turning out to be a fairly decent team. And I mean, if nothing else, I mean, I personally, I tend to occasionally make the mistake of getting all wrapped up in the actual NFL week to week part of the game. But you got to remember, I have to make myself and remind myself that it's fantasy football, and all we care about is player output. And between the two, Devonta Smith should have a much better player output because I'm not sure where we're at on Tua, unfortunately. Let's see. Show Williams. Hold on. I traded Darrell Williams for Amari Cooper. Win or lose. I didn't know how much value Williams had once CEH comes back. I think you made a very smart business decision because of the fact that CEH is coming back and nobody knows. That offense is the weirdest offense in the world because we legitimately all last week and the week before that were saying that the Patrick Mahomes led Kansas City Chiefs were broken. They were the broken toy in the toy box. And you kept looking over there and glancing and like, oh, there's my shiny toy, but it's not acting right, so I don't want to play with it. And we didn't know what the hell was going on with them. And there is a very, very good chance that we are on the uphill climb with the Chiefs. And CH come back is a real – it's going to be a real big thing for them because I pretty much feel like they drafted him and they scripted the season to go – with him in the offense. And I think Andy Reid does not do good when the pieces of his puzzle don't fit in place correctly or the way he wanted them to. He adjusts eventually, like he did last week or this week. But yeah, CH comeback is going to be big for a lot of rosters that have held on to him this entire time. So yeah, you sold on Darrell Williams while you could, and that was a smart move. Let's see, Tua or Tannehill. Tannehill, and as a dude who lives in Tennessee, I don't like saying that, but Tannehill's consistent. You know, Tua has higher upside, but Tannehill's going to give you the same stuff all the time, and you don't have to worry about it. You know, there's less fluctuation with Tannehill, and that's what I personally prefer. I cannot stand having a guy on my roster who's going to give me a ton of points one week and then shit the bed the next week, which is what I think Tua does. I also don't think Tua is that great as a quarterback, and I do not think I think there's a good chance that he isn't the quarterback in Miami next year. But for the purposes of the rest of the season, Tannehill over Tua, no question. Let's see. Mint, I have AJ Dillon, my team as a handcuff independent. Nice. Eagles are a solid team and maybe more usage with Eagles tight end out. Yes. How long is he out for? Let me Goddard. I never spelled the guy's name wrong. Dallas Goedert left the Philadelphia Eagles last game due to a concussion, leaving his status murky for Week 11. Yeah, concussions suck. I hate, first of all, I've had a concussion and they are no fun to have, but they are non-linear. To quote Stefania Bell, who I love following for things like this, concussions are non-linear and they don't all factor in the same. The way one person reacts to one is different. But also, I always feel like when someone comes back after a concussion, unless they're a Kelsey or a CMC, that usually that next game, they are limited anyway. So, yeah, it is a good chance, even if Dallas Goedert plays, he plays less of a role than he normally would. So that's a very good point, something to be aware of. Let's see. This week, Tua versus the Jets or Tannehill versus the Texans. I'm gonna say Tannehill versus the Texans, but not just because of I love the Tannehill, the Tannehill love I was giving a minute ago. The Jets and Robert Saleh are going to fix the defense before they fix the offense. And I feel like there are glimpses every week of the defense getting better. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach, and he's gonna it's just his natural inclination to fix that first. And I think he's much closer there than he is on the offense. Plus, Zach Wilson probably comes back, and it could change the tempo of the game. But the Texans stink. The Texans are so bad. They're pretty much just a walking NFL fire sale. So I don't even know if the players are really. It's one thing to say, like, people in general will say things like a team has quit. Players don't actually honestly quit because they're pretty much, even if their team sucks, they're probably auditioning for potentially the next team they're going to be on if they get shipped off or if they decide to become free agents and leave or whatever it is. But the Texans, no matter how good they are, they're only trying so much, if that makes any sense. I just feel like it's just, you get down as a Texans player, what are you fighting for? You're going to go out here and do your job, but I do not see them lighting it up anytime soon. So I just feel like Tannehill's going to take advantage. If Tannehill doesn't run one in this weekend, I'll be surprised. Tua could run one in, but I wouldn't hang my head on it. I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet it as, I wouldn't go to a sports book and put down money on Tua scoring a touchdown, but I would do it on Tannehill scoring a touchdown. And I think that just gives him the upside. Browns or Finns defense this week? Browns, because they're the only side of the ball that I have any faith in. We don't know what the Baker Mayfield injury looks like right now. And if he is out, the Browns defense is going to have to step it up a lot. So yeah, I like the Browns over the Finns. And don't get me wrong. If I had the Finns defense, I wouldn't mind playing it. They're solid. But I just think this week we're going to get a little more out of the Browns defense. Let's see. Also, is Barkley and Miles Sanders coming back? I think yes on both. Saquon is the one I think is way more hopeful. Yeah, Barkley's definitely coming back this week, and it looks like Miles Sanders is slated to come back too. And if they do, I love Miles Sanders this week, which probably means because I said it out loud. Because I said it out loud, he may just play like shit. But him coming back is going to be really good for the offense. Let's see. Thank you. I appreciate that. It is good to know that somebody appreciates the words that I spew out of my mouth. Because, some days you're not really sure, And some days, everybody gets stuff wrong. That is if you want to see a funny, visceral reaction from things said, you can follow me on Twitter at Austin Wrote That. And yesterday I said a thing about AJ Green that everyone thinks is a terrible take, and I still stand behind it. People are constantly saying that AJ Green is a great player, and I happen to think he's just a guy who does his job. And the Twitter lost their shit on me yesterday. That's okay. That's fine. I'm okay having an unpopular take. I got 2 ex-wives, so my judgment's a little iffy anyway, right? Let's see. Show. Also, I think you missed the guy question. It was a trade one. Oh, thank you for that. Would you trade Zeke for D Hop and Michael Carter? Unpopular opinion. No, I would not. I DeAndre Hopkins is a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal talent when he is playing. Problem is he's very similar to Julio Jones. When he gets injured, you have no idea how long the injury is going to last and how much it's going to affect him, and that affects the offense more than people think sometimes. I so once again, I think between the players, just leaving Michael Carter out of this, because Michael Carter is going to go up and down in my opinion. Also, I like the if you need depth and you think that Michael Carter is going to fill the void of Zeke enough, then maybe you do the deal. But me personally, even though I like usually getting a 2-for-1 out of a deal, I like trading one player and getting two players. Um, I don't like the Hopkins part of this deal. When he is healthy, he is great. He is out there banging away, but I don't know how healthy he is. So yeah, I don't like injury prone players, and this season just seems to be the way things are going. Um, so yeah, me personally, I would not do that deal. But if you do it, you're not losing as much as some other deals would, if that makes any sense. Um, all right, I'm not even sure where I was anymore. Player highlights. Let's see anymore. All right. Let me go to tight ends before I wrap this up. Um, Tight end, in my opinion, is the hardest, most difficult position in fantasy football to field because there are only a few guys that have the high upside. Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, um, and then you get into the next tier where Pitts will eventually get to that tier, I think. Um, but I think currently Pitts is in that next tier, and below that it's hit or miss. Like I think it was either week 2 or week 3. I said that Michael Pruitt for the Titans was going to do. It was whatever. It was the first week that Michael Pruitt scored a touchdown. It was either week 2 or week 3. And then I wrote in my waiver wire article for the next week, I said that he was a good ad, and then he didn't do anything at all. But I mean, he caught a touchdown, I think, the last 2 weeks. So, it's hit or miss, especially when, you've got like the Dolphins. The Dolphins run a lot of 2 tight end sets. And last week, is it Shaheen and the other guy? It was their, what would on the depth chart be their second and third tight ends had the most receptions. And it just gets, I mean, it's weird. I mean, to be out here having 3 guys in one position, and it gets tricky. And it's a lot like some running backs situations where you've got a running back committee. A lot of tight end committees do the same thing. It's some weekends they play the hot hand, and some weekends they go with a system where they're going to give everybody, equal snaps. And sometimes you just got to figure out the team as opposed to the player. You got to figure out which teams are going to do similar stat counts, or offenses that are going to split the downs equally between tight ends versus hot hand or just going with one guy. Like when Gronk comes back, Gronk is the guy. When Gronk is not there, it's going to be Brait and Howard. So, it gets a little tricky sometimes. The tight ends, it's rough out there. So for the tight ends last week, week 10, filter. Damn it. The number one tight end last week was Hunter Henry. No big surprise. The reason I said damn it is because of the fact that when this season started, I would have bet you everything I had that it was going to be a tight end committee, and it was going to be Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, and they were going to get equal snaps, and they were going to use them like Belichick used Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, and that is 1,000% not what happened. It is clearly the Hunter Henry show in New England. It could be a relationship with Mac Jones. I don't know what it is, but you can drop Jonnu Smith if you got him, especially because he ends up with injury issues also. Tyler Conklin, clearly the dude. He is Kyle Rudolph 2.0. He is what they hoped he was. Mark Andrews is 3. Travis Kelce 4. Things come back around. In a game where Mahomes throws and they score 40 points, Kelce's a no-brainer. Kittle was that guy last night with 11 points. Dan Arnold is the only player, in my opinion, in Jacksonville worth rostering. He's also sneaky good in DFS if you play DFS on the weekends. Usually he is going to be a cheap play and also not highly rostered. So that's something to think of. Austin Hooper, he could potentially have more value. He is only rostered in 23% of leagues right now. Austin Hooper could have more value if Baker Mayfield is hurt. He still has value without him being hurt, but if he is hurt, I expect to see a lot more dinks and dunks and short passes than long downfield passes. Tyler Higbee, if you have him, you don't need another tight end unless there's a bye week issue. Until he gets hurt, Tyler Higbee is he's going to do what he does. Albert, I can't say your last name, a.k.a. Albert O. For Denver, the biggest problem with him is the fact that Denver sucks. But for fantasy purposes, he's worth rostering. Cameron Brate, like I said, he's going to be a 50% guy until Gronk comes back. Let's see. Is there anybody with any real relevance? Ricky Seals-Jones got hurt, injured his hip last game, and Logan Thomas could potentially come back against Carolina. So that's something to be aware of. You might want to hop off the Ricky Seals-Jones bus and try and find you somebody else. Jeff Swaim in Tennessee is currently 0% rostered. I do expect that to change drastically this week. And Darren Waller got victimized by a Kansas City offense and a whole lot of Derek Carr, what I felt like was panicking. So Waller got you 3 points last week, 2.4, and you're probably really mad about it, but you're going to play Waller. You're going to keep Waller. Don't drop Waller. You might even try and trade for Waller. If somebody had Waller and lost, I would personally, in that league, make an offer for him. So something to think about, if I could speak English. And yes, that is the player highlights / injuries for last week. I have managed to ramble on for 41 minutes. Thank you to everybody who came into the chat and asked questions. I greatly appreciate it. That is so much fun. I really enjoy it. I don't even mind. It's very fun for me to be in the middle of something and see the questions pop up, because I know I'm actually helping somebody with a particular issue, and it's fun. It's why I do this. I want to be helpful. I am going to attempt to finish the website this week. Fantasy football, thefantasyfootballmorningshow.com. Working on getting the shop up. Tell your friends. Don't tell people in your league about me, but tell your friends, outside of your league about me. Subscribe to the podcast, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find me on TikTok, everywhere out there on social media. I am FF Morning Show. Like I said, also, we are going to be doing, like I said, on Thanksgiving Day, I'll announce a contest with the autographed jersey. And stay tuned in the off season. I'm going to do a couple of fun things, I think. I mentioned last year, I think it was like the week of the draft, I was like, we should have a draft where everybody pretends to be a GM. So I'm going to, in the off season this year, organize a 32-team mock NFL draft, where each team gets their picks. The only caveat's going to be, I think it's going to be I'm a Bears fan, so I'm going to be the Bears GM. So I will find somebody out there, and I got to figure out how I'm going to pick who it is that gets to be the GM. I have to have some kind of contest to make you guys fight to the death for it or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to let actual team fans become the GM of their team. And then draft week, the day before the draft, we will do our own mock draft. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. If you have any more ideas, I'm on Twitter at Austin Wrote That. If you have start-sit questions, feel free. My DMs are open. Hit me up. I love to help. With that being said, thanks for watching. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Bye, guys.